So, good morning. Thanks for the invitation and thanks for the kind introduction, John. So, future challenges. You will see actually from my slides and for what I'm going to say about that there seems to be consensus what the challenges are. It is, I need to think, go next. So, it is certainly one of the biggest is the global perspective, which will be covered in the next panel, so I won't go too much into it, but there are encouraging tones coming from both sides of the Atlantic. Actually, from the Commission, Monsieur Malin mentioned that there is a desire to move together and to find global solutions, and as well from the CFTC. So I understand the CFTC and the Commission are talking now daily on finding solutions for the issues. So the creating regulation that is consistent with what is being considered outside the EU on the one hand, and regulation being implemented within the EU needs to be taken care of, and also to think about the potential consequences that it might require changes internally within European Union law. So, for example, an example of this would be indirect clearing, and we can talk about it a bit later. So the fundamental challenge for the regulatory authorities is to ensure that the jigsaw fits together. So the challenge is that the various pieces of legislation, and there are many out there, over the last 5 years have not been reviewed. It needs to be discussed, for example, what the Commission tries to achieve under EMIR versus the Basel Committee, what the Basel Committee is trying to achieve. What we at FIA and together with the industry identified that there is that the increased capital requirements have significantly hampered what the European Commission is trying to achieve. So by way of example, we see that clearing members pulling out of the market, offering client clearing and, for example, as well, indirect clearing solution because of increased cost and because the models are no longer viable. We are therefore concerned that that it will be difficult for the Commission to achieve the G20 commitments due to the potential lack of coordination. What is left to be done? There is quite a lot left. So again, the harmonized global approach, the clearing obligation, CCP, recovery and resolution, we touched on that before. There is a lot of risk sitting in CCPs, and this needs to be addressed. Again, then the equivalence decision of US CCPs is an issue, but again, there are coming encouraging words from the Commission, and there seems more cooperation going forward. Reauthorization of CPs, the process is still not complete. There are 20 CCPs in Europe. I believe that 13 out of them have been authorized in the meantime. A big project going forward is going to be MiFID II. It's a very big project. We're waiting for the next round of ESMA consultation, expected to be published. So if I expect it on Christmas Eve, and some might think Merry Christmas. I would also like to make a reference what in the UK there is a fair and effective market review going on, and it's going to be a consultation published in autumn or latest by the end of this year. Whilst the UK FCA is engaged in competition issues, it's not empowered to do so in the UK, and it is preferable actually to find global solutions here again and to develop a global coordination solutions and recommendations. A big issue also, and there is lots to be done, is reporting to trade repositories. Since the 11th of August, TRs, I believe there are 6 designated in the meantime in Europe, receive 200 million reports per week at a cost of millions of euros for the industry. There needs to be consistency on good guidance of what needs to be reported. The regulators do not have the technology really to review the data at the moment, and they need to have those resources actually to make sense of the data, as it does not make sense to use the information years after the event has happened. So how could the problems be tackled? So my CEO, Simon Poulsen-Jones at the FIA, thinks, for example, one solution would be when there is a particular piece of legislation that sits with third country laws to set up actually a team within the European Commission whose sole responsibility would be to proactively look at regulation, analyzing how regulation sits with a proposed regulation and how this all fits together. Then secondly, of course, to take in consideration the international outreach of it, so how it fits with considerations of proposals and recommendations of other bodies such as the Basel Committee or the Financial Stability Board. Thirdly, the consideration should be given as well to what other third countries introduce in terms of rules and initiatives. Very important, if such a team would be formed, it needs to have actually the required resources. It has been an issue all along at ESMA. ESMA is under-resourced, as well as the CFTC. There have been long debates. The regulators need to be adequately resourced to do the job properly. So, the question, do we need expensive review or fine-tuning? I think we touched earlier as well the speakers touched on it already. Markus Ferber, I agree with him, there shouldn't be a MiFID 3, MiFID 2 needs to be done rightly, and it's still in the process actually being implemented. So it is fine-tuning, please. There is no time for an expensive review. The mechanics are already built in. If you refer to EMIR, for example, there is a review being planned for 2015 where it's not clear yet how findings of such a review would be implemented. The danger of an expensive review is that if new regulation is created by the European Union, before the legislation from the last period has been implemented and embedded in, this will most probably lead to the unintended consequences. So certainly stock of what we ended up with should be taken much later. So, how to avoid incoherence between directives? So again, I think such a team within the Commission whose sole responsibility would be to look at conflicts of laws would help, and also could help to avoid implementing any measures too differently within the European Union, and again, create and maintain the level playing field. It is quite important, and I think this is recognized that as well, that the regulatory authorities need to work together with the industry in partnership. The issues are complex, therefore the FIA views the regulators as a fundamental part, actually, of the industry. To find these solutions together and in order to avoid unintended consequences. I think it gets more and more important as well as regulators are targeting very complex operational issues. There needs to be expertise, and this can only be done hand in hand, regulators and industry. So, thank you very much. Thank you.